21 Appropriation Act Amendment Bill 2022 SB 977. Mr. President, my highly esteemed colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on this very important amendment, which seeks to amend the 2021 Appropriation Act to extend the implementation year of the Appropriation Act 2021 from 31st March 2022 to 31st May 2022. This bill was read the first time today on Tuesday, 5th April 2022. As you are aware, distinguished colleagues, prior appropriation acts in the recent past were passed mid-year, and as such, implementation was usually extended to the following year. However, these extensions were usually covered in the Appropriation Act by a clause along the following line, and I quote, "In line with the provisions of Section 318 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, this Act runs for a period of 12 months, starting from the date it comes into effect." On the contrary, the 2021 Appropriation Act Clause 12 states that in line with the provisions of Section 318 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, this Act runs for a period of 12 months, starting from 1st day of January to 31st day of December 2021. You recall, Mr. President, my colleagues, that the 2021 Appropriation Act was further amended to extend the implementation year from 31st December 2021 to 31st March 2022. This was to ensure that the funding for the projects and the processes for implementation and payment for the contracts are completed at that time. You may be aware also that in 2021 there was a virement of the aggregate sum of 276 billion, which was approved for the several MDAs by the National Assembly in December 2021, along with 100% release of the 2021 capital budget of the MDAs. A significant proportion of the releases to the MDAs have been utilized following the extension to 31st March 2022. You will also recall that there has been a supplementary appropriation which was approved by this chamber and by the National Assembly for tackling the security challenges of this nation. The processes have started, but they have not been able to reach conclusion. Several of our projects are also involved. The National Assembly projects that were captured in 2021 budget. In view of the critical importance of these key projects which are nearing conclusion, it is expedient to grant further extension of the exploration clause to avoid compounding the problem of abandoned projects, given that some of the projects were not provided for in the 2022 budget. Therefore, the need to extend the implementation year to 31st March 2022 is apparent. This is in order to avoid liabilities and unnecessary cost escalation of projects that have already gone through the necessary implementation processes. This extension will help us realize the implementation to 100% of all the projects, of all the programs, including the Supplementary Appropriation Act that has also been passed by the National Assembly. In view of this, distinguished colleagues, I will therefore urge you to give full support to this bill in order to allow for full implementation and utilization of the capital releases so that we can help repopulate our economy and also repeat the feat that this National Assembly has done in making sure that projects are executed 100% since this Assembly came into office. I so submit, Mr. President.
It's not Mohammed Adamalo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I remain Mohammed Adamalero representing Kebbi Central. Mr. President, I rise to give support to this very important bill because the reasons given by the leader are very cogent. Funds have already been released for most of the projects in 2021 budget. Unfortunately, contracts were delayed. In fact, some of the contracts were awarded even in November. Yes. So there is no way such contract will be completed within 4 to 5 months. So there is compelling need to really extend the implementation of 2021 budget so that our people will benefit from the dividends of democracy. Mr. President, right now there are so many projects that are ongoing, and if we don't extend this budget, such project will be abandoned, and it is not in the character of this administration to have abandoned projects all over the country. Mr. President made it very clear that all projects that are ongoing should be completed. None should be abandoned. So I support this very important bill, and I urge all my colleagues to do the same. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Smart Adeyemi, West.
Mr. President, I rise to support this motion and to speak in line with the submission of distinguished Senator Adama Alero. Mr. President, this government, when it came to power, it did what was a bit unusual by going ahead to complete even projects that we inherited. In essence, this government believed that projects must be completed. All the projects, major projects that this administration inherited, they are actually completing them. So it is going to be out of place for us to allow projects to be abandoned. But I think more importantly, Mr. President, why this amendment is desired is the need of us to ensure that those projects that were captured in 2021 are equally completed. And one of the reasons why this is so, Mr. President, is the fact that in the last couple of 3 months, we've had the crisis of diesel, which is the main oil that moves the earth-moving equipment. So many projects today, they are at a very slow stage of completion because the diesel are not available, and where they are available, some of them are adulterated. Because I visited quite a number of sites and I saw that many earth-moving equipment were abandoned. So I think, Mr. President, this is desirable that we extend the 2021 Appropriation Act so that all these projects can be completed. And more importantly, Mr. President, too, by so doing, we'll be accelerating socio-economic development of our nation, and we'll be putting a smile on the face of Nigerians who will be benefiting and who will be working in some of these sites. So, Mr. President, I submit that this is one proposed motion that deserves the support of all of us for the sake of the masses and the nation that we serve. I so submit, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. That is aye. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the 2021 Appropriation Act in order to extend the implementation year from 31st March to 31st May 2022 and for related matters 2022. Second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the 2021 Appropriation Act in order to extend the implementation year from 31st March 2022 to 31st May 2022 and for related matters 2022. Second reading taken. And the bill is referred to the Committee of Supply. Leader of the Senate.
My highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day, Mr. President, I would like to read a motion that this Senate resolves into the Committee of the Whole to consider this report on this Appropriation Act. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, Those in favor that the Senate do resolve into Committee of Supply to consider this report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Any comments? Senator Barrow Jibril.
Senator Barrow Jibril, Kano North. It's just a typographical error. I'm sure it's an error due to which that is number 3, explanatory memorandum. It should be the implementation year of the capital side of the Appropriation Act. Capital side of the Appropriation Act. That is line 3. The implementation year of the capital side. It's only the capital side we're talking about here. The capital side of the Appropriation Act. The capital side.
We should have a more appropriate legislative word, not capital side.
Okay, the capital, well, you might say the capital provisions. Capital provisions or capital components. Okay. You can say capital provision, capital expenditures, or capital components. Anyone, sir? Okay. So the correction is capital component of the Appropriation Act. Thank you, sir. Now, let me read on. This bill seeks to amend the Appropriation Act 2021 in order to extend the implementation year of the capital component of the Appropriation Act 2021 from 31st March 2022 to 31st May 2022.
I don't know what the necessary intendiment is. No, sir. Look, I am trying to use this word. I will not.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleague. I rise to second the motion as moved by the chairman of appropriation. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, before I put the clause to vote. Let me listen to Senator Balanalla. But we are starting the voting on the clauses, the 3 clauses there, after the comments. Senator Balanalla.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My concern is this. If we extend only the capital component of the budget, there must be the need to incur some recurrent expenditure for the purpose of supervising. I don't know, that's why I said I don't know the intendment. Yeah.
Somebody's mic is on. It's all right. I think we should give them what they have asked. If they are asking us for only the capital component, I think we shouldn't cry more than the briefed. We should give them what they have asked. Yes. Senator Ibukula was.
Thank you, Mr. President. The reason is this. It is only the capital aspect that can be affected. Those that collect salary, those that do what they do normally, it will not be affected. So that's why.
Comments? Senator Michael Opeyemi.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Michael Opeyemi, representing the Central Senatorial District. Mr. Chairman, my concern is with respect to the title of this bill itself. It's a bill to amend the 2021 Appropriation Act in order to extend the implementation year from the 31st March 2022 to 31st May 2022 and for related matters. Mr. Chairman, since law cannot take retroactive effect, today is already the 5th of April. We have to caption this bill in a way that whatever act that had taken place or whatever had been done in the last 5 days will be legal. So this, to my mind, should be amended to read as it is and to also indicate that all things done under this bill up to this or within the period between 31st March and today are deemed, to also be covered by this extension. So we have to find a way of amending that. If that makes sense to the how then we can now think of the specific amendment. But that is my observation. So we just put a new clause, probably.
Sir, the date has already captured that. The date is there. 31st March to May. That is March. So it has taken care of that already.
Well, I think I can say the 2 points. It is fair is that we are doing it today, but I think even if we are doing it today, we are capturing the 5 days in this bill as it is titled. So to me, I think I will agree that we don't have to add anything. But if our legal minds feel strongly about this, then let's have a proper amendment of the title. Is there anything? But nobody is giving us anything. What do you mean you are too afraid? This is Parliament. How can you say you are too afraid? No. Leader is leading very well. Say those things that you think leader will be worried.
This position taken by my friend. Oh, is that what you want now? Okay, we can say this bill seeks to amend the Appropriation Act 2021 in order to extend the implementation year of the Appropriation Act from 31st March 2022 to 31st May 2022. and all actions taken before the commencement of this in furtherance of the implementation of this appropriation shall be deemed to have been lawfully made. That's all. That's all. Yes.
I need a seconder. Senator Michael Open.
Mr. Chairman, I think we can save our time because it may not be necessary. I just want to bring to our attention the provision of Section 4, subsection 9 of our Constitution, 1999 Constitution as amended. It says, notwithstanding the foregoing provisions of this section, the National Assembly or a House of Assembly shall not, in relation to any criminal offense whatsoever, have power to make any law which shall have retrospective effect. So it's only in criminal law that we cannot make laws with retrospective effect. For this, as it is, we will be covered constitutionally. But if we want to, I just believe we are covered according to our constitution.
This is, I think, very important. But Senator Balai, would you like to withdraw your proposal? Okay. So we don't have to amend that title as properly guided by our Chairman Committee on Judiciary. Are we okay with that? Okay, so we will put something into what the clause is. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Aliu Sabi Abdullahi. I just thought it's important for Nigerians to understand that this extension we are talking about is not a window to start a procurement process. It is simply because there are projects that have not been completed, like the leader has explained, and that they are ongoing projects, and we want them to be taken to their full term. That is why we're giving this window. I thought it's a very important point to discuss.
I think the leader has explained this thing very, very well. We don't need to. I think the lead debate was explicit. So those who vote that clause 1 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who vote that clause 2 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who vote that the explanatory memorandum as amended, because we put capital component, as amended stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who vote that the long title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move that the chair reports progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those who vote that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the Appropriation Act 2021 in order to extend the implementation year of the Appropriation Act 2021 from the 31st March 2022 to 31st May 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended. Clause 1 as recommended. Short title as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as amended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
I rise to move that this bill be read the third time.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion that this bill be read the third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that this bill be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, any answer. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the 2021 Appropriation Act in order to extend the implementation year from 31st March 2022 to 31st May 2022 and for related matters 2022. Third reading.
I'm just trying to find out if we don't need to add the amendment. We did. Capital component. Isn't it? Thank you. I'm properly guided. A bill for an act to amend the 2021 Appropriation Act in order to extend the implementation year from 31st March to 31st May 2022 and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. Our colleagues in the House of Representatives are doing the same. And time is of essence, and I will urge the executive arm of government to swiftly swing into action to ensure that we achieve 100% budget implementation like we did achieve in the 2020 Appropriation Act. Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day, the second reading of the National Industrial Technology Park Establishment Bill 2022. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Tuesday, 16th November 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Ibukule Amosun to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Ibukule Amosun, Ogun Central.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I rise to move the motion to lead the debate on the National Industrial Technology Park Establishment Bill 2021 SB 850. I so move, Mr. President.
You may proceed with the lead debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on the general principle of the bill seeking the establishment of the National Industrial Technology Park. The bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Tuesday, 16 November 2021, and it is targeted towards economic development, youth empowerment, and capacity building. The bill seeks to establish industrial parks where Nigerian entrepreneurs can converge in a cluster, brainstorm, and showcase their ideas and creativity, thereby reducing unemployment, poverty, idleness, and lack of productivity and restiveness in the country. The establishment of the Industrial Technology Park in Nigeria is imperative, as it will go a long way to assist in nurturing Nigerians to be technologically savvy and competitive, as well as serve as a veritable platform for the promotion and commercialization of research and development. The object of the industrial park shall be: 1, stimulating investment and creating employment; 2, facilitating export growth and foreign exchange earnings; 3, developing industrial clusters; 4, entrepreneurship development; 5, eliciting knowledge transfer and technology spillover; 6, establishing connections to the global value chain; 7, development of research centers; 8, fostering sustainable growth and social equality; and 9, utilization of products from clusters by MSMEs within the park. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it will interest you to note that all over the world, industrial parks are taking the lead as incubators for innovative technology and a circular economy. The establishment of parks such as this makes it easier for companies and entrepreneurs to leverage the availability of resources, technical know-how, knowledge, and professionalism, which can pave pave the way for developing and testing business and technology solutions. Let me reiterate that technology has a greater role to play in achieving the much desired economic diversification and sustainable industrial development of our nation. Technology is also capable of addressing the imperfections of the Nigerian market and institutional system that hampers companies' access to information, knowledge, and new innovations. Industrial parks have the ability to exploit the local potential in supporting knowledge-based business development and outline an environment where companies can interact with other supporting knowledge suppliers, thus facilitating business and local development, which will result in increased employment and revenue generation. Furthermore, the establishment of an industrial park of this nature will go a long way towards accelerating the process of reforming and diversifying the nation's economy by attracting innovative businesses that can generate jobs, higher incomes, and more resources for institutions. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, when the bill is passed into law, it will bring about technological advancement and technological self-reliance for our nation, thereby making Nigeria an industrial nation. It will also serve as a source of wealth generation and enhancement for investors and government. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I urge you to support this bill for second reading. I thank you.
The Deputy Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to support that this bill be read the second time. I want to congratulate Senator Amosu for sponsoring this very important bill. It is a bill that can help us to diversify our economy from a monolithic economy which is oil dependent, and this type of economy is very vulnerable to international energy politics. Last week we took a bill on startups. It is an industrial park like this that provide the right environment for startups to take off. And we have many examples of these industrial parks all over the world which have contributed to the industrial development of the countries. One that comes to mind readily is the Silicon Valley.
Sergeant Adams, why are too many of you on the aisle? One person is enough to collect whatever it is. Please proceed.
One example of this industrial park is the Silicon Valley in California, in the United States of America. And in fact, because of the Silicon Valley, California is the richest state in America and richer than many states combined together because of the industrial activities in this Silicon Valley. I've had the opportunity to visit many industrial parks in India, in China, in Brazil, and I think if we establish this industrial park and back it up with law, it will definitely help us in our effort for industrial development. As I said, the startup bill that was taken last week is very, very apt, and it will help the industrial park will help the startups to have an environment where they can thrive and contribute to the development of the country. So I want to congratulate Senator Amosu for bringing up this bill, and I agree with my colleagues to support it for second reading. Thank you.
Senator Ibrahim Abdullahi.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues. This is a very important bill, without which Nigeria cannot develop. The offspring of this kind of industrial parks will lead the way to industrial growth and development in this country. And therefore, the best way out is to go ahead with this bill so that we can be able to actually correct the imperfections we have on, let's say, industrial development in this country. And then the other area where we have this one is that the more industrial parks we have in this country, the more there will be investments, the more there will be, let's say,
innovations, and these innovations are going to be patented and commercialized. And therefore, I think it's very important that we give it a speedy passage so that this bill could go to the second reading. I so support.
Senator Baroj.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Baroj Ben Abubakar Lord. Mr. President, I need to commend the sponsor of this bill because it's a bill that helps us to become fully industrialized. We'll be yearning for full-scale industrialization in this country. This is the kind of arrangement that will help us to achieve these long-term objectives of this nation, that of industrialization. What the bill is trying to do is to make us create something like a Silicon Valley, as said by a speaker before me, where inventors will come together, forming clusters in the way that they can create startups, startup companies, startup enterprises in areas like IT, like other metallurgy, and so on and so forth. So this is something good. It has been, done at other clients. Like I said, as I said earlier, we have a successful outing in the United States in California, as said by the speaker before me, where you have the Silicon Valley. And the Silicon Valley, you have so many big companies springing from the Silicon Valley. It has turned around the economy of California. It has turned around the economy of the entire United States. So if we're able to do this, Mr. President, we'll do a lot in making sure that we achieve our national objective of, bringing about industrialization in this country. We have a lot of inventors. They are scattered everywhere. When you go to our universities, you have outcome researches here and there. You have big time, small time inventors, innovators, those who have innovations to their credits, but they don't have a medium where they can actualize, commercialize these inventions and innovations. So creating a medium like this will help, because you find banks there, you find entrepreneurs and what have you, that will support these young people or academics and so on and so forth to actualize and commercialize.
You may round up, please.
My colleagues to support this bill because it's something that we need to support so that we can bring full-scale industrialization into this country. I say something. Thank you.
Those in favor that this will be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. And I want to also join our colleagues who spoke before to commend His Excellency, the former governor of Ogun State, distinguished Senator Bukula Mosun, for sponsoring this bill. And of course, we need to ensure that we provide a better security environment, because if we are going for establishment of industrial technology parks, it means drawing and accommodating more and more resources. We don't have those kind of resources that we need in our country, but once we have a very good security climate, we have the people, we have our young people who are very brilliant, intelligent and smart, and we can compete with anyone in the world. But we have to work together across all the levels of government to ensure that we create and sustain a better security environment that will encourage people from outside and even Nigerians to invest their resources within our country. But the future belongs to us. It's for us to take it. Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate. We will not take a second reading. Leader, we need to refer this to the committee. So, Clerk of the Senate first.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the National Industrial Technology Park as a mechanism for clustering of knowledge and innovation-based industrial parks formations in Nigeria and for related matters 2022. Second reading.
a bill for an act to establish the National Industrial Technology Park as a mechanism for clustering of knowledge and innovation-based industrial parks formations in Nigeria, and for related matters 2022 second reading taken, and bill is referred to the Committee on Trade and Investment to return for further legislative action to return back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the second reading of the Federal College of Agriculture Ishe Orung Erikiti State Establishment Bill 2022. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this great chamber on Wednesday, 23rd March 2023. We wish to invite distinguished Senator Biodun Olujimi to move the motion for the motion to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Biodun Olujimi.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I'm delighted to be permitted to lead a debate on a bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Agriculture State. Mr. President, I am Biodun Olujimi. I represent Ekiti South. The bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Wednesday, the 23rd March. This bill seeks to address the need for agric education, training and research institutions, not only for Ekiti State, but for the entire Southwest region, for a significant land mass and population. The federal mandate of this college will therefore enhance agricultural research and development, not only in the Southwest, but in the entire country. Agriculture and its allied sectors are unquestionably the largest livelihood provider, especially in the rural areas, and can contribute significantly to the GDP demand for agricultural products. The demand for agri products is rising rapidly with increase in population and per capita income. As a result, there's a growing demand for agricultural products from the industrial sector. The Federal College of Agriculture, ISEORO, when established, will provide for the holistic development of agricultural education, knowledge, skills, and extension services. This initiative will accelerate agricultural growth rate, enhance farmers' income, and generate employment in the sector. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, you may be aware that Ekiti State and the entire Southwest states are purely agricultural states. Agriculture cannot also be practiced in modern times using the traditional methods without scientific knowledge and skills that will guide the entire farming process to increase agricultural yields and quality. The significance of agriculture in facilitating economic development of the country cannot be overemphasized. The objective of the bill is therefore, among others, to establish the Federal College of Agriculture, ISEORO, to train agriculturists and farmers in the Southwest and Nigeria, to serve as institution for advanced agricultural research in all fields of agriculture and animal husbandry, produce qualified Nigerians to offer services to farmers in response to increasing demands for food and other means of livelihood which agriculture will provide. Develop realistic and practical curriculum to train qualified persons to acquire certificates in diploma and degrees in various fields of agricultural research, practice, science, and technology, and to provide an avenue for internship, teaching practice, refresher courses, and orientation programs for students in related tertiary institutions, local farmers, agric extension farmers, desk liaison and program officers in related MDAs and the private sector. In line with Order 76.3 of the Senate Standing Order 2015 as amended, a compendium, a very modest compendium of the financial implication of the establishment of the college is attached. I thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, for all the kind attention and solicit for your support for the second reading of the bill. Thank you.
Senator Said Al-Ghali.
Thank you, Mr. President. My very distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Said Al-Ghali, and I represent Gombe North. Mr. President, let me throw all my weight in support of this bill. The bill is not only timely, but is also apt. Mr. President, we are aware that agriculture constitutes over 75% of our gross domestic product. And most of our constituents are low-income earners. They largely depend on agriculture with a very high marginal propensity to consume. And this is one time that this country will need to diversify our economy from oil to non-oil dependent. On this note, Mr. President, this bill doesn't need a very long debate. Therefore, I urge all my distinguished colleagues to support this bill for second reading. I so submit.
Senator Michael Open Bamidele.
Thank you, Mr. President. Michael Open Bamidele, representing the Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise in support of this bill and urge our distinguished colleagues to kindly allow the bill to be read for the second time without having to repeat any of the very germane issues contained in the lead debate presented by distinguished Senator Biodun Olujimi. Mr. President, I'm strongly of the opinion that the choice of the community where this College of Agriculture is being proposed to be established is the best choice that we actually could have in Ekiti State, given the tenacity and proclivity of the community for agriculture and agro-allied industry. I am convinced that we will be doing the right thing by ensuring that this is done. And having expressed my own support for the bill, I would like to also place on record, and I believe this will be a matter to deal with by the time we are doing a clause-by-clause consideration, that Iseonu is a local government. It's not a one-town local government. It's not the name of a town. And given the experiences we had when the 6th Senate, the 6th National Assembly, passed the bill for the establishment of the Federal University of Oye-Ikole, Ekiti, where there was a big fight between the two communities, leading to the loss of several lives. The sponsor of this bill will have to decide whether the College of Agriculture is to be established in Ise-Ekiti or in Onu-Ekiti, rather than Ise-Onu, which represents the entire local government. And having said this, Mr. President, I want to say once again that I am entirely in support of this bill. Thank you, sir.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that this will be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Agriculture in Saurun, Ekiti State, to provide full-time courses in agriculture, teaching, instruction, and training in the sciences, social sciences, commerce, arts, applied sciences, management, and humanities, and carry out research, innovation, development, and adaptation of teaching techniques and for other related matters, 2022, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Education, Federal College of Agriculture, Isiaoru, Ekiti State, to provide full-time courses in agriculture teaching, instruction and training in the sciences, social sciences, commerce, arts, applied sciences, management and humanities, and carry out research, innovation, development, and adaptation of teaching techniques, and for other related matters, 2022 second reading taken. And the bill is referred to the Joint Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Agriculture, Rural Development, with Tertiary Institutions, Committee on Tertiary Institutions as the lead committee. To report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth order of the day is the second reading of the Federal University of Agriculture, Ogoja, Cross River State Establishment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, 13th October 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Jarigbe Agwam Jarigbe to move the motion for the bill to be read the second.
Distinguished Senator Jarigbe Agwam Jarigbe, Cross River North.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I rise to lead the debate. I am Jarigbe Agwam Jarigbe. I represent Cross River North. I rise to lead the debate on a bill for the establishment of the Federal University of Agriculture, Ogoja, Cross River State. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on this very important bill, which seeks to provide for the establishment of a Federal University of Agriculture, Ogoja, Cross River State. The bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Wednesday, 13th October 2021. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the bill is a bold step towards not only addressing the educational needs of the populace, but it will also serve as training ground for the development of agriculturists in the country. Agriculture, with its allied sectors, is unquestionable the largest livelihood provider, more also in the rural areas, and can contribute significantly to the GDP. Demand for agricultural products is rising rapidly with increase in population and per capita income, and growing demand from the industrial sector. The university will provide the holistic development of agricultural education, knowledge, skills, and a telescopic vision on the future that will help them contribute to accelerated agricultural growth rate, enhance farmers' income, and generate employment in the sector. This will give the students a platform to enable the country to achieve self-sufficiency in food, reduce poverty, and bring economic transformation to millions of rural families. The objectives for which the university is established, amongst others, are to encourage the advancement of learning and to reach out to all persons without distinction of race, creed, sex, or political conviction, to develop and offer academic and professional programs leading to the award of certificates, first degrees, postgraduate research, diploma, and higher degrees, with emphasis on planning, developmental and adaptive skills in agriculture and allied professional disciplines. To produce socially mature agriculturists with capabilities not only to understand the agricultural needs of Nigeria as a nation, but also to exploit existing agro-infrastructure and improve on it to develop new ones. To act as agents and catalysts for effective agricultural system through postgraduate training, research and innovation for effective economic utilization and conservation of the country's human resources. To collaborate with other national and international institutions involved in training, research and development of agriculture with a view to promoting governance, leadership and management skills amongst agriculturists. To identify the agricultural needs of the society with a view to finding solutions to them with the context of overall national development. To undertake any other activities that is appropriate for a University of Agriculture of the highest standard. One noticeable feature in the development of universities in Nigeria is the emergence of specialized universities. Most of these focus on science and technology. Hence, they need to establish a University of Agriculture, Ogoja, to increase the number of agricultural universities. This will help the back-to-land policy of the federal government to ensure the diversification of our national economy. Agriculture is key, and the drivers of this, to me, are products from the universities of agriculture. I therefore advocate for the establishment of more universities of agriculture across the country. In line with our Order 76 sub 3, the compendium of financial implications is hereby attached. It is in my view that these and many more valid points that cannot be exhausted in this short debate. I urge Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, to please support this bill and recommend its accelerated passage. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I hereby implore all of us to support this bill for a second reading. Thank you very much.
Distinguished Senator Gershom Selbasi. You can use any seat. Yes. If you cannot get it there, come to this side, please.
Is that one working? Okay, hello. You are pressing. Is that the yellow?
It's working.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Gershom Basi, Cross River South. Mr. President, I rise to support this bill in its entirety. I also commend the mover of this bill, Senator Jaribe Agom Jaribe, for bringing up this rather topical issue in our country today. Today we have issues with food security in our country. And one of the problems with food security is the development of the agricultural value chain. Yes, we have a lot of people who are involved in the at the base of agriculture, which is growing the crops. But after these crops are grown, there is the agricultural value chain. And what a university like this does is to teach us about not just the cultivation of crops, but the development of the agricultural value chain. And so it is important that we have these types of universities in Nigeria. And I therefore support wholeheartedly this bill to help us increase this issue of value addition to the raw materials that we produce in our country. So I urge all my colleagues to support this bill, and I so submit, Mr. President.
Senator Iverson, Frank Iverson.
Thank you, Mr. President of the Senate, distinguished colleagues. Chukuma Frank Ibezim, representing Imo North Senatorial District. Senator Jaribe, I commend you for this timely bill. Whatever we can do to encourage agriculture in this country to return back to the mainstay of our economy should be supported by all of us. Over 60% of our population is our young men and women. So there's need for us to encourage agriculture and encourage them to curb this unemployment situation in our country now. With solving unemployment, we will solve security challenges. With solving unemployment, we will solve youth restlessness. And I believe also that we will attack this banditry going on in this country. So there's need for every one of us to encourage, to bring back this agriculture situation, for agriculture to become the mainstay of our economy. Right now we're having issues with our oil. We can't even refine our own oil. So I encourage us to encourage this bill because bringing back agriculture as our mainstay would resolve most of our challenges. Thank you, Mr. President.
Those in favor that this will be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, any others. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Agriculture, Ogoja, Cross River State, and to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration and for other related matters, 2022, second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Agriculture, Ogoja, Cross River State, and to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration and for other related matters, 2022, second reading. And the bill is referred to the Joint Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund and Agricultural Development for further legislative action to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth and the sixth orders of the day are from our Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund. The fifth one is consideration of the report of that committee on the Federal Polytechnic Orozo Establishment Bill 2022, which was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 23rd February 2022. The second one from the same committee was referred to that committee on Tuesday, 8th March 2022, and it's about the National Commission for Colleges of Education Act number 3, 1989, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Professor Nora Ladi Dadut, who is representing distinguished Senator Ahmad Babaketa, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the two reports. I so move.
Distinguished Senator Nora Ladi Dadut, Plateau South.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Nora Ladi Dadut, representing Plateau South. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate do receive and consider the reports of the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund on 1, a bill for an act to provide the establishment of the Federal Polytechnic Orozo, Abuja, Federal Capital, to provide for full-time courses in technology, applied sciences, management, administration, and for other matters connected therewith. And 2, a bill for an act to repeal the National Commission for Colleges of Education, Act number 3 of 1989, and to enact the National Commission for Colleges of Education and for other matters connected therewith. Mr. President, on behalf of the Chairman Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund, I so move. Thank you.
I need a second. Distinguished Senator Francis Adenigba, Father Unsi.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues,
You will take the 2, 1 and 2 committee report on tertiary institutions. Use your mic, please.
The committee report.
I strongly support the motion ably moved by Professor Nora Ladi on the presentation and consideration of reports on tertiary institution and test fund Federal Polytechnic Ozoro Establishment Bill 2022 and reports on Committee of Tertiary Institution and Test Fund National Commission for Colleges of Education Act 1989, repeal and reenactment Bill 2020, assembly moved by Professor. I so support. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the reports of our Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Test Fund on the Federal Polytechnic Orozo Establishment Bill 2022, SB 911, and on the National Commission for Colleges of Education Act No. 3, 1989, repeal and enactment Bill 2022, SB 934. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prof, you may come and lay the reports. Please present the reports, Prof.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this is the report on the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal Polytechnic Orozo, Abuja, FCT, to provide for full-time courses in technology, applied sciences, management, administration, and for other matters connected therewith, Establishment Bill 2022. The findings, Mr. President, from the views expressed by the stakeholders at the public hearing and subsequent analysis of both oral and written presentations of memoranda, the committee hereby makes the following observations. 1, the stakeholders who made both written and oral submissions at the public hearing unanimously subscribed to the content of the draft bill and unequivocally supported the passage of the bill by the National Assembly to establish Federal Polytechnic Orozo in Abuja, FCT. 2, the establishment of the Federal Polytechnic Orozo will no doubt provide the required manpower needs of Nigerians in the areas of technical, engineering, vocational, science, and technology. 3, also, the envisaged Polytechnic would serve as a boost for the exploration of scientific and technological knowledge in promotion of cutting-edge research, and as well a hope for escalating techniques in science and technology to benefit prospective students for improved learning that would encompass multidisciplinary approaches, knowledge acquisition and dissemination, making ease of planning, adaptive, technical, maintenance, developmental, and productive skills in science and technology. 4, the knowledge and skills that would be acquired by the graduates from the envisaged Federal Polytechnic or Rosso in FCT will go a long way in expanding and deepening the horizon of the students in technological advancement and acquisition of emerging utilitarian skills for innovation in science and technology while contributing to national industrialization drive, and it will certainly enhance social integration for the progress of young people of this country in so many ways. Hence, the need for the Senate to consider and approve this legislative proposal for the benefits of humanity. Mr. President, the recommendation is as follows. The Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund, to which this bill was referred, having carefully considered same, hereby recommends as follows: that the Senate do consider and pass the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal Polytechnic, Abuja, FCT, to provide for a full-time course in technology, applied sciences, management, administration, and for other matters connected therewith, establishment Bill 2022, SB 911, as recommended. Conclusion, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I wish to, on behalf of the chairman and members of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund, to thank the President of the Senate and distinguished colleagues for the opportunity to serve in this capacity and to humbly request the Senate to pass this bill. I so move, Mr. President. Mr. President, I also want to present the observations and findings of the report on the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the National Commission for Colleges of Education. It's an act to repeal the National Commission for Colleges of Education, Act number 3 of 1989, and to enact the National Commission for Colleges of Education and for other matters connected therewith, 2022. The findings, Mr. President, from the views expressed by the stakeholders at the public hearing and subsequent analysis of both oral and written presentations of memoranda, the committee hereby made the following findings: that 1, the repeal of the National Commission for Colleges of Education Act number 3 of 1989 and to reenact same will certainly go a long way in ensuring ease of work and smooth transition in change of top echelons of the Commission, and it will entrench capacity to colleges of education in Nigeria via training of skills innovation to ensure credible, efficient, viral, and vibrant colleges of education system in Nigeria. 2, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, the passage of this bill is of utmost importance as it will serve as enabler for an on-the-spot assessment, ensuring timely accreditation exercise of problematic colleges, in addition to ensuring monitoring and evaluation of academic activities in NCE awarding tertiary institutions in Nigeria for better outcome and perfect delivery of results. 3, to further reiterate, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, it has been observed that the repeal of the National Commission for Colleges of Education Act number 3 of 1989 and to reenact same would provide grounded knowledge, improve skills of teachers, specialists, and practitioners in the education sector. Hence, the stakeholders at the arena of the public hearing have rendered their overwhelming support to the passage of the bill by the National Assembly. The repeal of the National Assembly, that is number 4, for Colleges of Education Act number 3 of 1989, and reenactment of same will no doubt provide the required impetus in improvising of the manpower needs of colleges of education, and it will certainly boost capacity and promote specialized educational services and teacher training in every aspect of education and other fields of applied learning relevant to the mandates of the Commission to meet developmental needs and expectations of colleges of education in particular and the education sector as a whole. The participants at the public hearing therefore urged the hallowed chamber for its magnanimity to offer special privilege to the National Commission for Colleges of Education by passing this bill. 4. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the repeal of the National Commission for Colleges of Education Act No. 3 of 1989 and reenactment of same is rather timely, as this legislative assignment would ensure enhancement of most archaic clauses and provisions such as National Council of Ministers instead of Federal Executive Council. The reenactment would therefore bring the existing laws in tandem with reality for ease of work and ensure efficiency in the Federal College of Education system. This ensures achieving the most needed educational services to improve on the national policy on teachers' education in Nigeria. Hence, this legislative exercise can be described as putting a round peg in a round hole. Recommendations. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund, to which this bill is referred to, having carefully considered the bill, hereby recommends as follows: that the Senate do consider and pass the bill for an act to repeal the National Commission for Colleges of Education Act No. 3 of 1989 and to enact the National Commission for Colleges of Education and for other matters connected therewith, Bill 2022 SB 934 as recommended. Conclusion, Mr. President, I wish to use this opportunity on behalf of the chairman and members of the committee to thank the President of the Senate and distinguished colleagues for the opportunity to serve in this capacity and to humbly request the Senate to pass this bill. I so move, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any comments? Leader of the Senate Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that this Senate resolves into the Committee of the Whole to consider these two reports. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this Senate now do resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider this report as to second.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. We start with the Federal Polytechnic Orozo Establishment Bill, and it's a standard bill. So we start with page 1. Those in favor that clauses 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 6, functions of the registrar and tenure, on page 5. Clause 7, Clause 8, Clause 9, appointment of director, and Clause 10. Stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at clause 11 on page 12, appointment of the bursar, clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, clause 15, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 16 on page 16, transfer of land to the Polytechnic, clause 17, clause 18, clause 19, and clause 20, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 21, discipline of students, on page 19, clause 22, clause 23, clause 24, and clause 25 on page 24. Stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 26, clause 27, clause 28, clause 29, and clause 30, power to make bylaws on page 26. Stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 31 and 32, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the interpretation on page 27, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the short title on page 28, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the schedule on page 28, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the explanatory memorandum on page 34, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the long title on page 1, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The second report, National Commission for Colleges of Education. Those who are at clauses 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the supplementary, clause 6, supplementary function of the commission on page 7, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, and clause 10, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at clause 11, maintenance of separate fund by the commission on page 13, clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, clause 15, clause 16, and clause 17. Stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the interpretation on page 16, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the repeal clause on page 16, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the short title, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the schedule on page 16, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the explanatory memorandum on page 19, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Those who are at the long title on page 1, stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move that the chair reports progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the chair reports progress. Revert to plenary.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate reverts to plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on the Federal Polytechnic Orozo, Establishment Bill 2022, and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 32 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedule as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. The Senate in the committee of the whole consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on the National Commission for Colleges of Education Act No. 3, 1989, repeal and enactment Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 16 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, repeal clause as recommended, short title as recommended, schedule as recommended, the explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move that these bills be read third time. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that these bills be now read a third time.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that these two bills be now read the third time, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal Polytechnic Orozo, Abuja, to provide for full-time courses in technology, applied science, management, administration, and for other matters connected there with 2022, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the National Commission for Colleges of Education Act No. 3 of 1989 and to reenact the National Commission for Colleges of Education and for other matters connected there with 2022, third reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal Polytechnic Orozo, Abuja, to provide for a full-time courses in technology, applied science, management, administration, and for other matters connected there with 2022 third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Congratulations, FCT Senator. A bill for an act to repeal the National Commission for Colleges of Education Act No. 3 of 1989 and to enact the National Commission for Colleges of Education and for other matters connected there with 2022 third reading taken, and the bill is also passed. Congratulations, Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the seventh order of the day, seventh and eighth order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary on the Federal University of Medical Sciences and Biomedical Technology Bill 2022 SB 678. The distinguished senators will recall that this bill was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 19th January 2022. The eighth, which is also presented by the same committee, with the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary on Health Education Fractioners Board of Nigeria Registration, etc. Bill 2022. This bill was referred to the committee on Tuesday, 20th April 2021. Mr. President, we wish to invite distinguished Senator Ibrahim Yahya Odoregbe, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the two reports. I so submit, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Yahya Odoregbe,
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Ibrahim Yahya Odoregbe. I represent Kwara Central Senatorial District. I rise to move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary on the Federal University of Medical Sciences and Biomedical Technology Bill 2022, and that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary on the Health Education Fractional Board of Nigeria Registration, etc. Bill 2022. I so move, Mr. President.
Did you move for the two? Okay, I need a seconder, Senator Sadiq Suleiman Umar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Sadiq Suleiman Umar. I represent the Good and Decent Choir, not OR. Mr. President, my distinguished colleague, I rise to second the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the reports of the Committee on Health as moved by the chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished colleagues. Those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the reports of the Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary on the Federal University of Medical Sciences and Biomedical Technology Bill 2022 SB 678 and the Health Education Practitioners Board of Nigeria Registration ETC Bill 2022 SB 299. Say aye. Those against say nay. Chairman, we will let the reports, please. You may present the reports.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Senate, at its sitting on Tuesday, 18 January 2022, read for the second time the bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Medical Sciences and Biomedical Technology in 6 geopolitical zones and for other matters connected therewith, and refers same to the Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary for further legislative action. The bill was sponsored by Senator Patrick Akeredure, and it seeks to provide a unified legal and legislative framework for existing and other federal universities of medical sciences and biomedical technology being proposed. Mr. President, the methodology is as stated in the report. I will go straight to our observations and recommendations. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Nigerian populations of doctors and medically trained personnel is daily on the decline. These institutions, when established, will increase the human resources requirement to meet such growing needs, including addressing infrastructure deficit in the health sector. When established, universities will attract people to these geopolitical zones and neighboring states through the provision of higher educational, academic, and professional programs for those seeking to pursue degrees in medicine, biomedical, and related matters. When these universities are established in the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria, it will help address the threat of admission of students aspiring to study medicine and allied sciences in Nigeria and supply the much needed manpower in the healthcare service sector, as well as create an avenue for income generation, self-sustenance, and boost the economy. When this bill is passed into law, the huge gap in doctor-patient ratio, as well as in medical research and production of pharmaceutical products, will be abridged. The universities will also advance healthcare delivery in Nigeria through research and innovation, training and development of the health sector. The committee, after clause-by-clause consideration, proposed the establishment of 18 universities from 6 geopolitical zones. The choice of location in the zone is influenced by laid-down criteria by the zone, including availability of take-home facilities. After a clause-by-clause consideration of the bill, which is made up of 7 clauses, the committee recommends as follows. Amended clauses are clause 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 9, 11, 27, and retained clauses are those clauses as listed, as well as the 3 schedules to the bill. A new insertion, which is the special memorandum, was inserted. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the committee urges you to give this bill accelerated passage it deserves, as its passage to law is apt as evidence in the wide support it received at the public hearing. The committee would like to thank the Senate President and the entire leadership of the Senate and colleagues for the opportunity given to us to serve in this capacity. I so submit. I move to the second report, Mr. President. The second report is on a bill for an act to establish the Health Education Personal Education Board of Nigeria and for matters connected therewith, SB 299. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this bill was also referred to the committee on the 18th day of January 2022 after its passage through second reading. The bill was sponsored by Ombudsman Service, seeks to establish the Health Education Personal Education Board of Nigeria to provide for the education of persons seeking to become members of the health education professional profession in Nigeria, set regulations and standards for the profession, discipline erring members, and advance professionalism in the practice of health education in Nigeria. The methodology as stated in the report. In terms of our observation as committee, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, practitioners of health education are the category of professionals that are experts in health and imparting knowledge and skill to students in various aspects of health in the areas of health promotion and health learning, as well as prevention of ill health. However, there is no enabling law regulating this category of professionals. Health education makes students value their own health and enable them promote health as individuals and as members of the community. It promotes good nutrition. This includes promotion of balanced nutrition, healthy lifestyle, prevention of diseases, prevention of unwanted pregnancies, and overall improvement of health. Overall, health education is important in our society. Despite its importance, the practice remains largely unregulated. It is common knowledge that most of our tertiary institutions in Nigeria offer first degree in science education, health education, but hardly any degree in health education. The objectives of this bill, therefore, are to, among others, determine the set standard of knowledge and skill to be attained by persons seeking to become members of the profession of health education. Establish and maintain a register of persons registered under this bill as members of the profession. Conduct examinations leading to the award of certificate or diploma as been described by the board, and perform all such duties as are incidental to the functions of the board. When passed into law, the practice of health education will be regulated. It will also advance healthcare delivery in Nigeria through research, innovation, training, and development of the health sector. The recommendation of the committee is as presented in terms of the amended clauses and the retained clauses. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the committee urges the Senate to give this bill the accelerated passage it deserves. I wish to thank the leadership of the Senate and the entire Senate for the opportunity given to us to serve in this capacity. I so submit, Mr. President.
Leader, Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider these two reports. I so submit.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider these two reports as to second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the two reports say aye. Those against any say no. We are on page 1, Federal University of Medical Sciences and Biomedical Technology. Those in favor of clause 1, clause 2, yes.
What was agreed at the public hearing for the Northwest is Malumfashi and not Funtua. So I think the type, you can say type in that. Just 1B, so the report should read Federal Medical Science and Biomedical Technology, Malumfashi, Katsina State, not Funtua. That's page 2, sir. Under clause 1B. Malufashi, that's what was recommended. Malufashi, not from Tuasa. We should just, yes, sir, it should be Malufashi for the record purpose. Yes, sir. They are everybody, they vote for try something.
Those in favor of clause 1 as amended say aye. Those against say nay. Chairman, you are a good man. I say you are a good man. Bello Mandia is your member, right? Okay. It's all right. Those who vote clause 2, clause 3, clause 4, clause 5, and clause 6 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are on clause 7, clause 12, clause 13, no, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, clause 10, clause 11, and clause 12 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are on clause 13, proof of statutes on page 19, clause 14, the visitor, clause 15, clause 16, clause 17, removal of examiners on page 23, clause 18, clause 19 on page 25, and clause 20 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at clause 21, clause 22, clause 23, clause 24, and clause 25 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who vote at the interpretation on page 30 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the short title on page 32 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the schedules 1, 2, and 3 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the explanatory memorandum on page 56 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the long title on page 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The second report. Those who are at clause 1, clause 2, membership of the board, clause 3, clause 4, clause 5, financial provisions on page 4 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, and clause 10 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at clause 11 on page 11, temporary registration, clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, clause 15, clause 16, clause 17, clause 18, clause 19, and clause 20 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at clause 21, establishment of the disciplinary committee on page 19, clause 22, clause 23, clause 24, clause 25, clause 26, and clause 27 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those who are at the interpretation on page 26 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those in favor of the short title, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are the schedules 1, 2, and 3, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are the explanatory memorandum on page 35, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Those who are the long title on page 1, stand part of the bill say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the chair resumes plenary for the chair to report progress.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate deliver to plenary to report progress as so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the chair reports progress say aye. Those against any the ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary on the Federal University of Medical Sciences and Biomedical Technology Establishment Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 as recommended, as amended, clause 1 as amended, clause 2 to 25 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedules as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. The Senate also and the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary on the Health Education Practitioners Board of Nigeria, registration ETC Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 to 27 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedules 1, 2, and 3 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you, Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move that these two bills be read the third time.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that these bills now be read the third time as so second.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that these two bills be now read the third time, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Medical Sciences and Biomedical Technology in 6 geopolitical zones and for matters connected there with 2022, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Health Education Practitioners Registration Board of Nigeria and for matters connected there with 2022, third reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Medical Sciences and Biomedical Technology in 6 geopolitical zones and for matters connected there with 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is passed. Also, a bill for an act to establish the Health Education Practitioners Registration Board of Nigeria and for matters connected there with 2022, third reading is taken and the bill is also passed. Congratulations, Leader of the Senate. The last one.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the ninth order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the National Human Rights Commission Act, Cap N46, 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2022. The distinguished senators will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Thursday, 17 December 2020. Mr. President, we wish to invite distinguished Senator Michael Opeyemi Bamidele, the chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Distinguished Senator Michael Opeyemi Bamidele.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, Michael Opeyemi Bamidele, I represent Ekiti Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I stand to move that the Senate will receive and consider the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the National Human Rights Commission Act, Cap N46/2004, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2022. Mr. President, I so move.
I need a second. Distinguished Senator Mohammed Sani Musa.
I'm Mohammed Sani Musa, representing Niger East Senatorial District. I stand to second the motion because the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the report on the National Human Rights Commission Act, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2021.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the National Human Rights Commission Act, Cap N46/2004, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2022, SB 586, say aye. Those against any ayes. Chairman, you may please lay the report. Tom. Senator Suswan. Senator Gabriel Suswan, please you should stop disturbing Senator Keita. Thank you. Chairman, you may present the report, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on a bill for an act to repeal the National Human Rights Commission Act, Cap N46, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, as amended, and enact the National Human Rights Commission Act 2020 to strengthen the Commission to conduct investigations and sustain contributions to the Human Rights Fund for human rights activities in Nigeria and for related matters, SB 586. The National Human Rights Commission Act Repeal and Enactment Bill 2020 was sponsored by distinguished Senator Michael Opeyemi Bamidele, Ekiti Central Senatorial District. The bill was read for the first time at the plenary of the Senate on Wednesday, 2nd December 2020. And to also add that this is a stakeholders bill emanating from the National Human Rights Commission itself. The Senate at its plenary sitting on Thursday, 17th December 2020, deliberated on the general principles of this bill. Thereafter, the bill was read for the second time and referred to the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters for further legislative action via Senate Order of Referral dated 24 December 2020 to report back with its recommendations. The objective of the bill in a nutshell is that it seeks to repeal and enact the National Human Rights Commission Act 2010 as amended, with the main objective, in our own opinion, being to reposition and streamline the institutional framework of the Commission by strengthening its capacity to conduct investigations on human rights issues, as well as expand the scope of the Commission's operation generally. The bill also makes specific provisions to provide for the establishment of the National Human Rights Fund
in the national budget, as well as provide effective means of sustaining contribution to the fund, whereby non-governmental organizations and multinational corporations will make remittances to the account accordingly. The Human Rights Fund, which the bill seeks to establish, is in line with global practices as it relates to human rights institutions worldwide. The fund, no doubt, will facilitate unhindered and seamless discharge of the statutory functions of the Commission in line with the Paris principles. This is important in view of the rising spate of insecurity, sexual and gender-based violence, and other unforeseen human rights violations in the country, which cannot be contemplated and adequately budgeted for during consideration of annual budgets. In paragraph 3, we discuss the methodology. In paragraph 4, distinguished colleagues, we discuss the public hearing, the nature and the proceedings at the public hearing. And of course, following that, come with me to page 6, where we talk about the legislative summary. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is pertinent to state at this juncture that the committee has carried out critical and painstaking clause-by-clause analysis and scrutiny of the provisions of the bill with a view to ensuring that the drafting of the bill is in line with its intendment and when compared with similar legislations in other jurisdictions. All the editorial corrections, the draft of some provisions, as well as introduction of new provisions were introduced to ensure that we have a legislation that will stand the test of time. All these, among others, are set out in the attached table to this report. Below are the highlights of some modifications carried out on the bill by the committee. Clause 6 deals with the powers of the Commission. Clause 10 deals with condition of service. Clause 12, renumbered 11, deals with funds of the Commission. Clause 14 deals with Human Rights Fund. Clause 22, renumbered 21, deals with recognition and enforcement of awards and recommendations. Our observations and findings. Distinguished colleagues, having regard to views canvassed at the public hearing and our subsequent clause-by-clause analysis of the provisions of the bill, we hereby make the following observations and findings. 1, that all the stakeholders who attended the public hearing supported the passage of the bill, albeit with some suggested amendments, which were accordingly reflected in the draft bill for the approval by the Senate. 2, that the propositions in the draft bill are ingenious, novel, and innovative, and if supported by this hallowed chamber, the National Human Rights Commission will no doubt be further strengthened to meet the challenges of modern realities. 3, that as the world has evolved over time, criminal activities and human rights abuses and violations have also evolved. Hence, the need to have the appropriate legislative framework in place to mitigate the rising spate of violence and disregard for human rights and dignity as the rest of the world are doing currently. 4, that a viral and enduring democratic value system cannot be fully entrenched in Nigeria if we do not have an independent and incorruptible human rights institution with adequate funding mechanisms and free from unnecessary interference from the government. All these are the contemplations of this proposed bill. 5, that one of the salient provisions of the bill is the aspect that has to do with investigations and conduct of public hearings on human rights issues and abuses. 6, that in order to stimulate the support of Commonwealth as it relates to national institutions and structures responsible for the promotion and protection of human rights, it is incumbent on the legislature to bring about legislation that are in tandem with global best practices. And finally, that the passage of this bill will further guarantee the Grade A status granted to Nigeria by the United Nations General Assembly in recognition of its compliance with the provisions of the Paris Principles, and that the aspect of the bill that deals with disclosure of information was amended in line with Section 11(1) of the Freedom of Information Act, which provides that a public institution may deny an application for any information, the disclosure of which may be injurious to the conduct of international affairs and the defense of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That the imposition of 1% compulsory tax on national and multinational institutions, public and private companies, and institutions carrying on businesses in Nigeria as provided in subclause 2B of the bill has been deleted by the committee. It is our concerted view that such contribution should be voluntary as a corporate social responsibility and not mandatory, as it is capable of discouraging not only indigenous investors who are already overburdened by such deductions after profit in other extant acts, but as well hinder foreign direct investment in the country, and that the Commission should be well funded by the federal government, and adequate sensitization should also be carried out for national and multinational institutions, companies and corporations to contribute to the Human Rights Fund without compulsion as part of their corporate social responsibility. Our recommendation: the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, to which the bill was referred, having considered same, do hereby recommend as follows: that the Senate do consider and pass the National Human Rights Commission Act, Repeal and Enactment Bill 2022 as amended. I so move, Mr. President, and I wish, on behalf of members of this committee, to thank the President of the Senate and our distinguished colleagues for the opportunity to serve in this capacity, and to most respectfully commend the passage of this bill by the Senate. Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues.
Leader of the Senate, Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate resolves on the Committee of the Whole to consider this report.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this Senate do now resolve to Committee of the Whole to consider this report. I so second.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves to Committee of the Whole to consider the report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. We are on page 1. No, not page 1. Page 3. We start from page 3. Page 4 actually. Page 4 is where clause 1 starts. Those in favor that clause 1, clause 2, Governing Council on page 5, clause 3, clause 4, clause 5 on page 9, functions and powers of the Commission. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 6, powers of the Commission. Clause 6 on page 13, clause 7, clause 8 on page 19, clause 9, clause 10, clause 11, clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, and clause 15, Human Rights Fund on page 23, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 16, annual estimates, accounts, and audits on page 24. Those who are at clause 16, Clause 17, annual report. Clause 18, Clause 19, Clause 20, and Clause 21, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Those who are at Clause 21, recognition and enforcement of awards and recommendations on page 28, Clause 23, and Clause 24, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Those who are at the interpretation on page 26, stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Those who are at the short title on page 31, stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Those who are at the schedule on page 31, stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Those who are at the explanatory memorandum on page 35, stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Those who are at the long title on page 3, stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the chair reports progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the chair do revert to plenary to report progress. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the chair reports progress, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. The Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the National Human Rights Commission Act, Cap. N46, 2004, repealed and enacted Bill 2022, and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, Clause 1 to 24 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedule as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that this bill be read the third time. So move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this bill be now read the third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that this bill be now read the third time, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the National Human Rights Commission Act, Cap. N46, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 as amended, and enact the National Human Rights Commission Act 2020 in order to further strengthen and reposition the Commission for effective and efficient performance of its statutory functions and for related matters 2022, third reading.
A bill for an act to repeal the National Human Rights Commission Act, Cap. N46, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 as amended, and enact the National Human Rights Commission Act 2020 in order to further strengthen and reposition the Commission for effective and efficient performance of its statutory functions and for related matters 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is hereby passed. Congratulations, Leader of the Senate.
And my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, having come this far, I would like to move that we suspend the consideration of all other items on our agenda today to another legislative day. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I ask to second the motion that we stand down all other items on the other paper to another legislative day. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate stands down the consideration of the remaining items on the other paper till another legislative day, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move that this Senate do adjourn until tomorrow, 6th April 2022 at 10 a.m. prompt. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this Senate do now adjourn to Wednesday, the 6th day of April at 10 a.m. prompt. I so.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that this Senate do adjourn till tomorrow, 6th day of April 2022 at 10 a.m. from say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. The Senate is hereby adjourned till tomorrow, Wednesday, the 6th day of April 2022 at 10 a.m. prompt. Thank you.